So, what exactly are we going to do? What exactly are we going to do here at Crossroads Church? Well, I'm here to talk to you about vision. I think Ronnie probably picked a good person to do that because my number one strength, if any of you have ever done strength finders, my number one strength is futuristic. So I'm the type of person, my wife, she always says, I don't know how you do it, but you can see things and it's just real to you. And to me, it doesn't make sense that other people can't. And so, because I see things and I see what's to come, and it becomes real. But I think sometimes we need that vision to be able to do the work that it takes to get to where we're ultimately going. Because if we can't see where we're going, what are we working for? So that makes me think about Noah. That makes me think about the ark. And if you look at, and we all know the story of Noah. I hope we know the story of Noah and the ark. And if you look at Genesis chapter 6, starting around verse 13, um, uh, God proceeds to tell Noah exactly how the ark is to be built, exactly how Noah is to build the ark. I mean, literally the length, the width, the height, how many rooms, how many compartments it has. And God plants a vision in Noah for what the ark is to look like. If God hadn't have done that, Noah wouldn't know what work he needed to do to get where he's going. God is planning for Noah to go, right? So Noah proceeds to build the ark with gopher wood, mind you. And those who, if you don't know, I'll share with you, gopher wood back in that day was made to build coffins. Coffins were built with gopher wood. Yeah, there we go. God used gopher wood intentionally, or had Noah use gopher wood intentionally to build the ark, something that would maintain life. And back then, I'll tell you, a lot of people didn't. No one even knew what rain was. Noah said, "No, there's a flood coming. There's a flood coming." People didn't. Rain came from the ground, or water came from the ground. Then it didn't come from the sky. So Noah had this vision of what's about to happen and what's to come. And guess what? Everybody around Noah is probably thinking, "This guy's a lunatic. This guy is crazy. He's doing all this work for what? He's crazy." Man, I'm glad Noah built the ark. I'm really glad he did that work. So, I just wanted to share that story and really get your mind thinking about the work that we have to do here and about. And I'm blessed that prior to coming to Centralia, prior to moving to Centralia, my family, me and Brittany and my kids, we went to a church down in Heron called Southern Illinois Worship Center, also known as SIWC. And so I am able to have a vision right here for Crossroads Church. But mind you, SIWC years ago, back in 2009, it wasn't called SIWC. I don't even know what the name was. It had a different name. SIWC, back in 2009, they called a pastor, who's their pastor today. His name is Jason McInnes. Great guy, good friend of mine. And he, they called him. They called him Gary. All right. Okay, there we go. So they called Jason from Gary, Indiana, and or that area, and he's a guy from somewhere else, and they bring in this pastor, and he's got all this. Well, that church at that time only had 90, I think, 2 members. It was a small church, had a different name, and it only had like 92 members, which is a decent church. Um, not a tiny church by any means, but Jason began making some changes. It went through a name change. Um, the building grew. They changed the environment. They changed the lighting. They changed all these things happened at that church. And this was before Brittany and I and our kids went to that church. But I'll tell you what happened through all those changes. Today, that church has over three services. It has three services every Sunday. It has a service on Tuesday. It has a service on Wednesday. It has over 3,000 members that attend that church regularly. Some of my friends that are sitting in here right now have been to that church and know exactly the church I'm talking about. So I tell you guys that. I tell you guys that because God used Pastor Jason and planted him in that church and gave him this vision of what that church could be in little bitty, actually, Energy, Illinois. It's not even actually in Heron, it's in Energy. And gave him the vision of what that church could be, and knew that there was going to be a lot of work and trials and tribulations, and people leave the church and people come to the church, and to impact lives, to reach souls, to pick up our cross and carry it, to not miss Ricky's. And so that makes me think about this church. This church. And when I refer to this church, I'm not talking about just this building. I'm talking about this church. See, we are the church. It doesn't matter if our name is Temple, or our name is Crossroads, or our name is whatever. We are the church. And as the church, our mission is to reach more within the church. More church. More people. More unsaved people. That's our mission. We're called to do that. My vision for this particular church building is to see hundreds of baptisms a year. Let me tell you, one time at SIWC, my best friend, Jeff Brown, he got baptized. And on the day he got baptized, I want to say there was probably 70 people that same day that got baptized. It was mind-blowing. And I see that right here. See, we're just at the initial phases of that. We're just at the initial phases of what's to come. Like Gary said, it used to be 12 people. Well, we've had a lot more than 12 people. We got way more than 12 people in here right now, right? We're just at the initial phases. So understand where we are going. There's going to be some changes. There's going to be some growth that we're going to go through. But understanding where here's the deal. This building is probably going to have to get expanded upon, because we're going to have to have multiple services. The funny story, I would meet people in down in Heron area or Carbondale or Marion or whatever. I would meet them and I'd say, "Oh, where do you go to church?" "Oh, I go to SIWC." "Really? Me too." You'd have to figure out what service they go to, because you go to the same church. So I see that same vision right here, because when we make that impact, it's not about this building. When we make that impact, the lives that we're going to impact, the home that it will feel like for people, we want it to be known that there's something different there. This is a place I can go to when I'm in need. This is a place where I can find people that's going to love on me. So, church, just for a minute, let's do this. If you would, just close your eyes. Close your eyes with me, and I want you to see. As you take yourself, ignore where you're at right now, and just imagine sitting in worship with your grandkids, with your kids, with your parents, with your best friend, right here. Imagine it just being shoulder to shoulder. Let's ignore the COVID thing. Let's get back to the feeling of closeness, that feeling of love. Let's imagine that we're just praising together, shoulder to shoulder, with people that you have done the work to reach, people that you have went out and brought to the church. Now I want you to ignore this building. Now I want you to ignore this earth. And I want to ask you to imagine being in heaven. Imagine being in heaven next to those same people. That's our goal. You can open your eyes. That's our goal. That's what we're aiming for. I want the people that I love the most to be in heaven with me. This time here is so short, but we got to have a vision for where we're going and what we're doing. And I can see this. This church is gonna, this sanctuary is gonna look completely different in just a matter of a couple years. There's going to be hundreds of people in here, and there's going to be multiple services, and we're probably going to end up having to build on, all because we were willing to pick up our cross and do the work. Let's go, church.